It began as a whisper, a challenge really. Write a novel, not just any novel, a novel in 1 month, 30 days. That was all. Most said it was impossible, a fool's errand. Perhaps they were right, but the idea took root. Some ideas are like seeds. They find a crack in your mind, they nestle there. They wait for a little rain, a little bit of foolish hope. This idea was a stubborn seed. It promised adventure. It promised a story born in a hurry, a story that might grow wild. The world is full of stories, unwritten ones mostly. They float like dust motes, waiting for someone to catch them. This challenge was a net for a big story, a fast story. The first days were a blur, a happy, energetic blur. Words flowed like a river, ideas sparked like fireworks. The story felt new, shiny. Characters introduced themselves, they smiled, they had secrets. It was like falling in love, fast and a little reckless. The page was a welcoming friend. Sunrise found me at the keyboard. Coffee was my loyal companion. The world outside seemed distant. My world was the story. It grew with every hour, chapter by chapter. The word count climbed higher, a thrilling, visible progress. This felt easy, too easy, like dancing on a volcano's edge. There was a fierce joy then, a feeling of pure creation, like building a house by hand, brick by brick, word by word. The plot twisted and turned, sometimes surprising even me. It was a wild ride, the kind you don't want to end. Then the path grew darker. The easy flow began to slow. Words became stubborn stones, hard to find, hard to place. The story felt like a maze, full of dead ends and shadows, self-doubt, a creeping vine. It whispered, "You can't do this. This story is a mess." The initial joy flickered, fatigue set in, a heavy cloak. The long hours took their toll. My eyes burned, my back ached. The story seemed to fight back. Characters became difficult, they refused to do what I planned. Plot holes yawned like chasms, threatening to swallow everything. This was the hard part, the part where many give up. The monster of exhaustion grew. It sat beside me at the desk. Its breath was cold. It made the screen blurry. It made the words swim. The outside world demanded attention. Life tried to pull me away, but the deadline loomed closer. Characters are strange beings, you know. They start as mere figments of your imagination, shadows on the wall of your mind. You think you create them, that you are their master. You give them names and faces, personalities and quirks. You tell them what to do, where to go, how to feel. But then they start to breathe, to live. They get their own ideas. Mine certainly did, and it was both thrilling and terrifying. The quiet scholar became a rogue, defying all my plans. The gentle friend, a betrayer, shattering the bonds I thought were unbreakable. It was quite unsettling really to see them evolve beyond my control. The plot too had a mind of its own, twisting and turning in unexpected ways. I had outlined it carefully, a neat, logical progression, or so I thought. But the story wanted something else, something wilder and more unpredictable. It veered off into wilder places, unexpected twists appeared, secrets I hadn't planted, mysteries I hadn't foreseen. It was like watching a plant grow, but it grew into a strange flower, one I didn't quite recognize, yet couldn't help but admire. Sometimes I felt like a spectator just typing what they told me, ascribed to their whims. The characters argued, they loved, they made foolish choices, choices that changed everything, and I could only watch. I would read back the day's work and wonder where it came from, marveling at the twists and turns. It was mine yet not mine, a creation that had taken on a life of its own. It was as if the story was alive, a separate entity, using my hands to tell its tale, a tale that was as much a surprise to me as it would be to its readers. The world outside the story shrank. It became small and distant. Friends called, but I didn't answer. Family worried, and I sent short texts. Busy, writing, all is well. But all was not entirely well. I was living in a bubble made of words and plot. Meals were forgotten or rushed. Sleep was a luxury. My apartment became a cave. Dishes piled up in the sink, dust gathered on surfaces. The only clean space was my desk, the portal to the other world. The fictional world felt more real than the one I was neglecting. This intense focus was a blade. It cut away everything else, leaving only the story. Relationships strained under the pressure, patience wore thin, mine and theirs. How do you explain the obsession, the need to finish this thing, this race against the clock? It consumes you wholly. Then it was over. The moment I had been working towards for so long had finally arrived. The last word typed, the final sentence polished. A strange quiet descended. The room felt different, almost foreign. The ticking clock fell silent. The characters stopped talking. The once vibrant world I had created was now eerily still. The world I had lived in vanished. It was as if it had never existed, leaving behind an empty space. Just like that. Poof. Gone in an instant, leaving me in a void. It left an echo, a hollowness, a feeling of being adrift. I felt like a ship without a rudder, lost in a vast ocean. The first few days were disorienting. I wandered through my routine, feeling like a stranger in my own life. What do I do with my hands? They felt useless, like they had forgotten their purpose. What do I think about? My mind, once so full of ideas, was now a blank canvas. The real world rushed back in, loud and demanding. Responsibilities I had ignored came crashing down. The neglected chores, the missed calls, they all demanded my attention, pulling me back to reality. It was like waking from a dream, a very long, intense dream. The kind that leaves you feeling disoriented and out of place. Part of me missed the chaos, the fierce energy of creation, the adrenaline rush of bringing a story to life. There was pride, of course. I had done it, the impossible. I had turned a blank page into a world of its own. A novel existed where none was before. A tangible thing, a stack of pages that held a piece of my soul. A tangible thing, a stack of pages, proof of my journey, my struggle, my triumph. But there was also fear, a nagging doubt that gnawed at the edges of my mind. What if it was terrible? What if all my effort had been for nothing? What if the monster I'd rushed into being was not beautiful, but truly monstrous? A creation that would haunt me. The urge to read it was strong, the fear of reading it, stronger. I was caught in a battle between curiosity and dread. The novel was a monster. Not a scary one perhaps, but a wild, untamed thing. It was a beast born from the depths of my imagination. Born of speed and obsession, it consumed my every waking moment. It had flaws, many flaws, rushed scenes, clumsy sentences. It was far from perfect, yet it also had a raw energy, a spark that careful plotting might kill. It was alive in a way that polished prose could never be. It was perfectly imperfect, my beautiful, chaotic creation. A reflection of my own turbulent journey. Living with it meant acceptance, accepting its wild nature, embracing the chaos. The story had a life of its own. It grew and evolved in ways I never anticipated. It was not the story I planned, it was something entirely different. It was the story that wanted to be told, a story with its own voice. The characters still whispered sometimes, their voices fainter now, echoes of their former selves, but they had left their mark, on the pages and on me, indelible imprints of their existence. The experience had changed me. I was no longer the same writer who began this journey. I learned about my own limits and how to push past them. I discovered resilience I never knew I had. I learned that creativity thrives, sometimes even better under pressure. The ticking clock became my ally.